It's like we're all gonna murder each other at the end of this. And then we did, and it was great.
Oh, it looks like James has a competition for the Energy Man.
I
On the
know. I
podcast.
just switched it like 5 minutes before we went on air.
Hi,
Hey,
everybody. Welcome to
wait
the
a minute. Keith went from white
podcast.
girl to white guy?
Wait, what?
That's a running joke. Adam
Wait.
has no clue what we're talking about.
I
Oh,
know.
sorry.
I mean, like I can do work, white girl. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh, you sound like
Guys.
Keith now, so
You
you're
sound
fine.
like Keith now.
There you go.
All right. All right, so we'll try this again. Hi, everybody. Greetings. I am your host, Chris. This is the Heroes Peak podcast. We talk about entertainment, culture, and whatever the hell we feel like. And today we have a special guest on the pod. We have Adam Lance Garcia. So we're going to be talking to him. And as always, I have my wonderful co-host with me. So let's start with, hi, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. James, how you doing today?
Taco Tuesday. What's going on?
I see you got a new craft in the back there.
I know. I'm trying to switch it up. Trying to be like you.
Yeah, I'm just changing my camera angles. I'm not actually putting anything new up. Well, I did put one new thing up here. Green Llama up behind
See
me.
that? Resurrecting 80s toys. Voltron, the original. The
Nice.
die-cast metal with lead from China. And
Nice.
the modern Thundercats version that didn't last too long on Netflix.
Nice. I wish I had my old G.I. Joes, but they're in a box in my mother's basement.
And I miss my Voltron.
And speaking of Voltron, it's Mike. And Mike, are you the yellow lion or the green lion? Which foot are you, left or right?
I get some green line today.
Pidge.
Yeah.
Pidge. So what we're going to talk about today, so we have a little bit of news we want to cover before we start. Then we're going to talk to Adam about him. And then we're going to switch it up. We were going to talk about Soul, but Adam didn't do his homework. So we are going to talk a little about Cobra Kai instead, which is something we've been wanting to talk about. We haven't talked about. I'm about 5 episodes into season 3. I know you two guys have finished it.
Yeah, we're done. Our other hosts haven't caught up yet. Brooks is still in season 1.
Right. She's still in season 1, so it's going to be forever before we get anywhere. So we'll have a little chat about Cobra Kai at the end. That sounds like a good time. So the news we wanted to cover was that, oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch of more movies being delayed again.
Yeah.
So I got some of the list here. So Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I personally was looking forward to, is now not coming out till November of this year. Morbius pushed to 2022, January 2022.
Sorry, I don't mean I know if anyone here's really excited about it, I'm sorry. That's just hilarious
What,
to me.
Ghostbusters or Morbius? Because
Morbius, I think it's
Morbius.
hilarious. Like, I don't even believe that movie exists.
I
There's
keep
a
forgetting
whole
that
bunch of
it's supposed-
Sony heads right now that are pissed at you.
I keep forgetting it's on the slate as well. Bond pushed to October, and then Kingsman, Uncharted, and apparently a Bob's Burger movie that was supposed to come out is now pushed again. What is going on?
Wait, did you
besides-
bury the lead with Black Widow?
Black Widow has it been pushed?
Yeah.
No, I said
No, still
is
slated for
Black
May,
Widow
isn't it?
next? Are they going to
okay.
push Black Widow, Uncharted? There's a couple of movies that are sitting in the queue. Do we think they're going to get pushed? Are we seeing that second wave of
Yeah, you're right. It's not delayed. It just may be both streaming and theatrical release. That's what it was.
Well, they're charging $30 for Raya and the Last Dragon, so they're simultaneously releasing that on Disney Plus and on in theaters. So are we going to do that? They're probably going to do it with Black Widow. Come on.
Yeah,
mean,
they're gonna. Go ahead. Adam.
Maybe. No, I mean, maybe. Like, the thing is, like, so my day job is I work for Condé Nast, which is the publishers of like Vanity Fair and Wired and some other things. And a big part of our industry is interviewing celebrities to talk about the movies that they're coming out with. And I wouldn't be surprised with a film like Black Widow that they might want to push it or wait until it comes out in theaters, because like Mulan and Raya and like those, when it comes to Disney, that's not going to get the at least the domestic gross that Black
Mhm.
Widow would. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
think they probably would wait until it's safe to go outside again, which it looks like they're saying fall of this year might be a return to normal. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like I think they might be willing to sort of push things, but I know that this theatrical and sharing theatrical and streaming isn't sustainable for the industry in general because
I think it's
a
really
lot of
hard to
loss.
tell with the movies that they've actually put out there. And Soul, by the way, I did look
Mhm.
it up. It like got 2.4 million households according to one site.
What did
But
Wonder Woman get? That would probably be a better benchmark.
just under that.
Wow,
I
under
have
that.
it open here. Um,
Damn.
it's about 200,000 more. This is from Samba TV. I don't know what
Yeah.
that company is, but they assume 2.4 million Disney households. Now remember, this is a big difference is families and groups going and watching movies and paying each a ticket versus one ticket in a household. And they assume that Wonder Woman got about 200,000 less. So still 2.2 million household views.
And that was also, but don't forget that was also released in theaters. So that where people decided to go to theaters, I don't know who they are, and I as someone who loves the movie going experience and misses it very, very, very much, I don't feel safe to go to see a movie just yet.
Do they have that in our area? They're allowing groups to basically rent a theater out.
I've heard you can rent theaters out, but at the same time, it's like, my girlfriend is very much like, why do you need a big TV? You can watch it on your computer. So I like explaining to her why I'm going to like go rent out a movie theater is a really hard thing to explain. Not that we share finances yet, but at the same time, it's sort of like, hey, honey, I'm going to go spend this amount of money to go rent out this theater. So I can see something. But,
it's like an really upgraded Blockbuster now if you're renting an entire
Yeah.
theater.
I mean, there's still some areas in pretty much the southern coast in Florida where you are allowed to go to watch a movie theater. You do the pre-advanced ticket so to make sure that you're at least 6 feet away from someone else. Right. They turn off the air conditioning in those spaces.
And that's Florida, so
yeah.
I mean,
that.
Florida. I mean, yes, that too.
I mean, I'm lucky. I got that drive in like 20 minutes from me, right? So I can sit.
I am envious of that.
Yeah.
I have not gone to a drive-in where I've enjoyed sitting in my car. We've always gotten out of the car.
No, yeah, I mean, you can get out.
On the ground.
It's just too cold right now to get out of the car, right? But in the summer, it's awesome. You set out some lawn chairs and you're good to go.
The most fun we had was when we borrowed my brother-in-law's projector and we hung a big sheet on the back of the house.
Nice.
Hey, Chris, what did Tenet make? Because that was one that I actually went to go see in the theater.
Yeah. Tenet made a lot overseas. It did not gross really high. I remember looking at it domestically. Tenet.
Yeah, it didn't do so well from what I recall.
Domestic gross is only 57 million in US and Canada, which is staggeringly low.
Yeah, but consider it like still not bad considering how bad the pandemic was when that came out.
November. Yeah, I remember being there and taking all the precautions.
300 million world, not worldwide. Other territories. So
what was the budget? Like two something, right?
Yeah, probably.
A $200 million budget. That is not what they expected to make. But then again, I think there was a lot of. I don't think Tenet, after watching it, was going to be that $1 billion movie. It was not Inception.
Yeah. I mean, but I also think that like it's not Inception, but it has the Nolan pedigree. So if it had come out in an alternate 2020 and on Earth B where the pandemic never hit, I think it would have happened. Like it would have been it would have done really well opening weekend with IMAXs because everyone would go see it in IMAX, and that is a lot more expensive to go see. You would have seen a better box office. It might have dropped off precipitatively, it might have been like a big opening weekend and kind of go down, but it probably would have made its money back. I think that's like the point I was trying to make. It's like they're not making their money back with the streaming services. there's a lot of cost that goes into making these movies that they're not recuperating with a subscription.
Yeah, I don't think anybody built up this subscription service outside of, say, Netflix in the expectation that it was going to be their moneymaker. It was a steady stream of income that was the backbone.
Yeah, and let me be honest, like Netflix is losing money. Like that is a big thing. They are it is there are some people in Hollywood who are confused, like not confused, but they sort of are like there's no way that Netflix can last forever the way it is because they pay their executives a lot of money. They spend hand over fist on things. And you know, there's just with the money that they're with the subscription costs, they're not making money back. They're always in the red.
I've heard that for at least the last couple of years, though. I've heard that even when they first got the Marvel network shows to come on, the stories are already out. Like, how are they able to afford all this stuff? The rights that they're paying Marvel. But you know, here we are 2-3 years later, and you know, pandemic probably boosted them a little bit.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Like that's the biggest thing. Like. Yeah, I mean, who knows? But that's the thing. Like, who knows what's going to happen like in a couple of years? So, I mean, I think that don't be wrong. Like, streaming totally a huge part of the future. I love it. I mean, I don't know how I lived without it. I don't know how I would have survived this pandemic without it. But you know, I'm curious to see what everything's gonna be like in the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, that's the thing. Like, streaming services are a long game, right? It's not. You know,
which is why HBO and Time Warner are pushing their new stuff because they're trying to get that subscription base.
But it's not working for everyone. Look at Peacock. There's some streaming services that's just not working. No, because of the content.
You can't have this many streaming services. At that point, you're just buying cable. I think
we're right back to where we started.
Yeah, we're back to where we started with the package deal. So last bit of news before we get into our interview here, and that is congratulations to GOAT Tom Brady. Oh, I went the wrong way. GOAT Tom Brady for going to his 10th Super Bowl. He's gone to as many Super Bowls, won as many NFC championships as Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, and also to the baby GOAT, and that is Patrick Mahomes going to his second in a row. Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I did not have, unfortunately, I bet on Buffalo. I know it really wasn't the smart deal, but you know, it's a local thing. You kind of gotta do it.
Yeah, I had Aaron Rodgers against Patrick Mahomes, so I'm halfway there.
Well, I had Bills and Bucks, so.
Yeah, Bills and Bucks. We both had it. All right.
I've been to Buffalo.
You've been to Buffalo. Yeah. It's like an hour from me, so.
Actually, same here.
Yeah, that's right. You go an hour south. I go an hour west.
I was there once for a party when I went to Syracuse, and I was like, "Yeah, this place I'm never returning to."
I was there for a wedding.
Have you? I mean, the falls is beautiful. So if you ever have a chance to just sit and see the falls, especially at night, fireworks shows, those kind of stuff, wonderful thing. Outside of that, like Buffalo is not a place that you hang out in for any reason outside of required.
There was a really nice bookstore, and I liked that the hotel I was staying at used to be an insane asylum. That was kind of fun.
Oh, right.
That sounds like a writing prompt.
It really does. It really does. Like I was driving up and I could hear the Shining theme.
The Shining.
Playing, like, dun, dun. It's like we're all gonna murder each other at the end of this, and then we did, and it was great.
I'm glad you made it out alive, Adam, because here you are on the Heroes Peak podcast, and we're going to start our little interview, and I'm going to pretend I'm going to play music. Post-production, I'll stick it in there.
The Shining.
The Shining. Adam, I read your little bit of your bio. So you're a writer, you're a producer.
Yes.
But tell us what we don't know, what you want us to know that's not in a bio.
What's not in a bio? Oh, boy. I have 2 cats. Groundbreaking news. What's on the bio? Yeah. So in my bio, unless I'm from Brooklyn,
Yay!
I'm specifically from Seagate, which is a small little like private community down at the very, very, very tip of Coney Island. So I went to that same high school as Arthur Miller, which I always think is kind of funny because they went down and looked up his report cards and found out he failed out of every class except for like one English teacher gave him a B.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. And I used to do a lot of photography when I was a kid. And I can say with some pride, I'm an award-winning photographer. But I've over the last few years, I've focused a lot on my writing, which has been my novels and my audio dramas that I write and produce. And my day job is I am, as I mentioned, a producer, director, sometimes editor at Condé Nast, and that's I've sort of become like a nerd for a living. My father,
we all dream it.
I will admit, like, I am very, very lucky because if you go to my parents' house in Brooklyn, like my dad has like comic book artwork on our walls, like the original 7 Alex Ross painting of the Justice League is like our centerpiece. Wow. Cool. You know, like my dad raised me on movie serials. My dad raised me on comic books and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it really is his fault. The series that I'm most known for, the Green Lama series, is the Green Lama is a Buddhist superhero from the 1940s. My dad collected him as a child. He has the original 8 comic books, and I'm the licensed author behind that series. Everything I do is my dad's fault. And, you know, I've sort of crafted this career where I've been able to both talk about what I love for a living. It's not always the case. Trust me, there's sometimes I have to talk about a reality TV show and I don't know anything about the housewives of whatever county.
You missed last week's pod.
Yeah, Brooksy Bikes. She introduces us to things that we would not normally do.
It's hilarious. So sometimes I've talked about that. But you know, I get to do things for a living. Like there a couple of years ago, when I was working at Yahoo Entertainment, they're like, "Hey, do you really want to go to the opening of Galaxy's Edge?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yes." And like, "All right, come. You know, we've got you a ticket. You could have to pay your way out, but you know, you can go to the opening of Galaxy's Edge." Nice. When I started working at Condé Nast and Wired, they were like, "Adam, so we want to do this series. It's called Each and Every. We want to do something with Star Wars. We don't know what that is. Can you call up Lucasfilm and see what we want to do?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then they're like, "All right, but if we're going to do this, we're going to send you to Lucasfilm. Is that okay?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, it sounds okay to me." "Oh, you're paying me even better." You know, I've done some really dumb things. Like at my last job at Yahoo, I put together like a Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline video, which my friend who works at Marvel's like, "This is really close. You almost got it." Like I was like, "Yes." And then on the side, I'm able to, while I'm doing those really cool things, I'm able to write something I'm very passionate about with the Green Llama. I get to write for a comic book publisher that I can't say. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. And I've said this on a couple of podcasts. I feel bad because I'm like, I have a comic book show coming out. I don't know if I can say which publisher it's for.
Let's not get you fired. So
it's cool because it's the biggest publisher I've worked with so far. And it's like that step on the journey. So I'm able to do the things I love in a lot of different ways. Is my life perfect? No, but whose life is? I'm very lucky. I'm very aware of how lucky I am, especially after like how crazy 2020 was to like still have a job doing this dumb job where they're just like, "Hey, Adam, you want to make a video about Mortal Kombat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can make a video about Mortal Kombat. Sure, why not?" I mean, so that's sort of the surface level stuff that's not on my bio.
How did you have to transition during the pandemic from your day to day?
Oh, it was freaking weird. So literally, like, we were about to go shoot I was going to shoot a video with Anthony Daniels, C-3PO himself. And that day, like, everything shut down. So, I mean, that did again eventually got shot out in LA. I was able to co-produce it with my coworker. But since then, every single shoot I do is over Zoom. I have worked either at when I was staying at my parents at the beginning of the pandemic, because my girlfriend's a nurse and she was like, I don't want to kill you if I bring home this COVID thing.
Yeah, we get that.
Yeah, so I stayed there or here. Like I have done most of my shoots, sitting in front of my computer, interviewing people like this. They shoot it on most everything is shot on an iPhone. At least a lot of the ones I've done, shot on an iPhone with a tripod, and they're looking directly at it while I'm sort of off on a computer explaining what to do. Or in some other cases, I'm kind of a max headroom on a studio set where I'm just like make sure you say that again. That's what I directing off there. So it's been weird. Like I will say if this pandemic had happened 5 years ago, like in 2015, I would have been out of a job. Like my entire industry would have shut down completely. So we're very lucky that it happened now. The technology is caught up there. Like, dude, like we can shoot a 4K video on a freaking phone. Like say what you will about anything right now, and there's a lot to be angry about, and there's a lot to be like frustrated with, but like we can shoot movie quality footage on a goddamn phone.
Yeah, and everybody you want to interview has the equipment basically in their hand at any given time.
Exactly. I mean, so like it's been weird. Like we went from shooting inside like these really nice studios in the World Trade Center to basically shooting everything on phones, and I do miss having that studio. But I've come to really become accustomed to working from home, which has been nice. I look forward to the day where I work like part-time at home and go to the studio. But because it's nice. Like, all right, my commute is roll over, there I am. And if I have a really important meeting, as long as I look like I showered, I'm fine.
There you go. Hey, let me ask a question if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
I think hearing a lot of the stuff you just mentioned about your upbringing and what got you the biz kind of reminds us of actually the panel here, plus a few others who are not on. Growing up from Brooklyn, I figured you're maybe around the same age. You may recall geekdom, everything we're doing right now, comic books, all that stuff. It was more like a niche thing. Like in the 90s, 80s, it wasn't a popular thing to really be in, Star Wars or comic books, MCU, stuff like that. Obviously, now 2020, it's the main IP content that almost surpasses sports to an extent. What's your thought on the transitioning from when you were first growing up, when your dad was getting you involved into comics and getting that passion for it, and seeing how now it's beyond just people who are diehard fans. It's mainstream. It's, the casual fan now is involved and interested in stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great, man. Like if I told like 16-year-old me, like, yo, like there are girls that like this now, like that would have blew my freaking mind. Like just the fact that like I can say who Captain America is, or I can talk about like the Force, or like what, like the fact that like Baby Yoda is like a thing that everyone understands. Like these things that I loved growing up, it's popular. Like everyone gets it now. Everyone understands why I was so excited. Like, did it suck growing up and everyone being like, well, like, you're so weird, like you like that stuff, you're so nerdy, and like being made fun of? That sucked. But if that's what it was worth, like I had to deal with that. So like now, like everything I think was cool, everything I thought was cool, everyone agrees is cool. Like that's great. And like the question of like the casual fan, my girlfriend she grew up around a lot of stuff because she has an older brother who's into all that sort of stuff. So she sort of understands it. But like the fact that she likes Star Trek, and even though she knows, she'll like sometimes like cite like random Vulcan lore, because I'm like, how do you know that? But like even then she's still pretty much a casual nerd. Like she can sort of have those conversations about it, and she can understand when I rant and rave about like whatever thing I'm reading or talking about. She'll understand why it matters to me and what it means. But I don't sit there and I'm like, honey, like, why don't you know, like, that William Hartnell was the first Doctor, not the second Doctor. Like that sort of like pushing the glasses up on your nose sort of fans, I'll never understand, because it's like, who cares? Like it's like the fact that we have like a common language now about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like even with like,
That's
like
accepted.
It's accepted. Like, yeah, like dude, like the fact that
I remember the excitement I had when I first met, like when I first freshman year in college. You know, we went there to check out the school and whatever, and like I met a group of all nerds, geeks. It's art school, whatever, right? So just all kinds from all places, and it was like, wait, there's like a whole lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like one or two. Like my mother was my original geek. Like I went to Star Wars in 1977 in the womb. Like that's my starting point. My mother's fault. So like I get your parent kind of, hey, this is stuff. They really have that great influence, and it's nice to see that people can just let that out now, and they don't have to be in or out. It's whatever level you want to be in, you're in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, just to get someone else's feedback about that, because we talk about this all the time amongst ourselves, because we all have different lives, families and occupations, but what binds us really is our love and passion for quote unquote geek culture. So getting someone else's perspective who's actually working, who's living the dream, and seeing your thoughts on the transition from what was so cool and popular to now it's not just popular, but it's money making, it's just accepted by the mainstream. You can take Mandalorian stack cards and compare it to Patrick Mahomes NFL stack cards, and you're both equally cool.
Yeah. What I don't understand that's happening right now is the gatekeeping. That's the thing that I don't understand.
It's terrible.
It's the thing that what drives me nuts about that is it's the same sort of thing. Like I sort of insinuated at the beginning. It's like there are girls that like it now, and it's like, isn't that great? Like it's girls. It's just like, I mean, like, or look, and I'll, like as a white
Toxic
passing
fandom.
like, yeah, like I was gonna say, like as a cis white passing man, like the fact that a girl likes it, it's like, oh my god. But like the fact that like there are so many people of so many different genders and races and sexualities and identities that like love the stuff that you love, like that's great. Like that's, again, like it allows us to talk about things in a really interesting way. What I don't understand is like the toxic fandom of people saying like, well, it's a larger issue, because I think a lot of what we see with these toxic fandoms are a microcosm of what's going on larger in the world right now. There is
lots of gatekeeping in lots of places.
Lot of gatekeeping. It's just like you look at what they're saying and what they want in their Star Wars or in their Doctor Who or in their Star Trek. It's like I remember someone talking about when Star Trek Discovery came out, and there was like a contingent of Star Trek fans who were like, this is white genocide. And it's like, did you watch Star Trek? Like, did you watch Star Trek? Like, what? Because as a black lead, you're upset about it? Or like if you have like Doctor Who, it's like, oh, it's a woman now. Like, but what about the men? It's like, have you watched the goddamn series? So it's honestly, it's a microcosm of what's going on, where it's sort of like an alt-right sort of thing that's happening, where if you look at what they say and what they do, it's like, they just want a certain kind of people in their things, and it's very tiring, and I'm stressed.
This is so good, because this moved right directly in a direction that I was worried that I was gonna be mad at for going there. But so I took some time this week, and I listened to some of the old 40s radio dramas of the Green Lama.
Oh wow!
Right?
Yeah.
And then I went and I got Green Lama Scions on Audible, and I listened through, and so here's my question. So Green Lama is of an age. Just like Doctor Strange, just like Iron Fist, even Batman, of an age where their origin stories tended to use some racial stereotyping as powers for white dudes, basically. And what fascinated me and what I wanted to know from you is what process did you go through in updating that character to be able to write in that genre? Because it's not like you made him a 2020 superhero.
Yeah.
He's still a 1940s great noir horror superhero, but you managed to make that world alive without doing the things that really kind of hit those chords in the 40s.
Without repeating the sins of the past.
Yeah, exactly.
I really appreciate that. One, just thank you for actually picking that stuff up, because did not expect you to, and it's very nice of you to read that. But secondly, more importantly, thank you for saying that about my work, because what's interesting about the Green Llama, yes, it's of a time when, the Orient, as it was called back then, like was sort of this unknown aspect of the world, especially Tibet. So for them, they could sort of a lot of white savior stuff, using how do I phrase it? It's weird. It's like almost like, the Tibet specifically was like this last undiscovered country. So they could put a lot of mysticism into that.
I was going to say mystics of the East.
Exactly, because it's like it wasn't unknown, and they're also coming from a place of white privilege, and the West and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's all of an era that can and rightly seen as racist, and it's really tone deaf if you put it in today's today. But what's interesting about the Green Llama and Kendall Foster Cross and the creator specifically, and this is one of the reasons why I feel so comfortable writing with him. There are two stories that he wrote in the original, in the 8 issue run of him from Spark Publications. So there was basically 4 eras for the Green Llama. There was the original pulps. There was the Prize Comics, which is like a short stories, and I think it was about a 16 or 20 episode run. Then there were the Spark Publications, which were 8 issues, one of which was a reprint, and then the radio dramas, which you listened to. In the 8 issue run he did for Spark Publications, there were 2 stories that directly addressed racism in a way that if you were to look them up today, are like, this was written in 1940, 1943. I can't remember the exact year. There's one story, for example, where they directly, so one of the soldiers, a soldier in the U.S. Army, writes to the Green Llama and says that one of the other white officers, one of the other white soldiers, is being abusive to the black soldiers, and this is not okay. So the Green Llama flies out, shows the racist soldier that him acting this way to the black soldiers is the equivalent of him being a Nazi. It's like, you're just as bad as the Nazis. Like, you're forgetting what you're doing. In that same issue, if I'm not mistaken, I could be conflating some things, there is a sort of advert of basically saying that it doesn't matter what their name was. It was Smith, Kravinsky, or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter who they were or where they're from. They died Americans. Like, that is what's important. Then someone wrote into the publication, said like basically saying like, that's not true. Like whites are better than these other people. They're not real Americans. So there's a story in that has the Green Llama get that letter and flies down and basically says like, this is wrong. The KKK is wrong. Like, this is why it's wrong. This is why racism is wrong. So it's one of those weird things where, yes, the Green Llama, because he is a white man who has superpowers because he went to the East, is inherently kind of a racist idea. But the message of the character written by the creator was very progressive for his time, in a way that, like, I don't know. There's a Superman story, Superman versus the KKK. That was a radio show, I believe. But he didn't really deal with racism like Superman. But like the Green Llama has a story where like 2 stories and like an advert in his 8-episode run, that's very progressive. So when I went back into writing them, I tried to move I didn't want to move the characters forward to the 21st century, because I really want to, okay, spoilers, I will eventually get them to the 21st century. I haven't, that is the novel I'm writing right now. But I really wanted to sort of fill in some gaps. I kind of wanted to combine all the different disparate versions. Like I wanted to have the audio drama version and the 2 different comic book versions and the pulp versions. I kind of wanted to combine them. I wanted to like have a sort of unified universe. You know, I just wanted to like sort of move that character forward. So I wasn't interested in moving them chronologically forward, but I wanted them to be accessible to cats like yourself who are modern readers, who are coming to this with a modern viewpoint. So I thought, I can't take him forward, but I can take the ideals forward, because it's like I'm trying to imagine what would Kendall Foster Crossan do if he was today. And I would like to think, and his daughter definitely has, who I work with, seems to support this, is that I'm trying to be moving forward. In Scions, one of our characters, for example, Ken Clayton. Ken Clayton is a character. Let me step back. So Jethro Dumont is the Green Lama. He studied for Buddhism in Tibet for 10 years. He came back to America, saw some kids get shot, and said, like, let me use what I've learned in Tibet to protect people. We've sort of made that a little bit more of an actual Buddhist idea of a bodhisattva, which I'm mispronouncing, and I do apologize. But it's basically
mispronounce all.
We're king of that stuff.
No, appreciate that. But basically, it's the idea of like it's someone who's delaying their enlightenment to help others find their enlightenment. He's trying to lead by example, and he has a small sort of crew with him, a team of people. Gene Farrell, who is like his love interest, who eventually does become the Green Lama in another story. There is John Carraway, who's the police officer, and there's a few others, but another one is Ken Clayton. Mm-hmm. Ken Clayton these are all the actor. He's an actor from the original books. And in my reading of the original pulp novels, and I'm definitely bringing my own sort of biases into this, is that it's implied that Ken and Jean are in a relationship. But I read it also as like, there's a lot of flirtation between Jean and Jethro, or Jean and the Green Lama. And I'm like, I really like that. And one of the cool things about when you are a licensed author, you're basically writing licensed fan fiction. I'm like, I'm shipping like the Jean and Jethro. Guess what? It's canon now, bitches. Right. But the other thing I read into it was that it read to me that Jean was Ken's beard.
Hey, we had a beard discussion last week.
I read it as Ken. Yeah, that Ken was a gay man, and that Jean was there to sort of like be his girlfriend for public. And my very first book my first book that was published was Horror and Clay, and then there was Unbound, and I was very coy about it, mostly because I was like, for better or for worse, I was trying to ease in the sort of older crowd, into like getting into the idea, and also I wasn't, I was kind of scared about it for whatever reason.
It sounds like that's what you were holding back a little bit of reservation for.
A little reservation because I didn't want to offend anybody. But then when I was writing Scions, I was like, why am I scared? Like it's important that like this representation is shown and it's celebrated. So a big part of Ken's arc is that he had fallen in love with a man. And he's known he's gay. It's not like he's not coming out. And Jean knows he's gay, and she doesn't care. And basically, that's a big thing for me. Like all the characters either already know, or when they do know, they're just like, whatever. Okay, you're gay. We accept you. That's important to me. It's important to the story. But it was in this story, he realizes that he wants to be with the man he loves, and I wanted to treat it just like any other sort of character like you would have. Just like he loves a man, he wants to be with him, And there's nothing weird about that. It's just completely normal, especially if you're dealing with a story about like possession and demons and like a whole thing under the ground, and there's like a flood and the sewers. Like if the story starts off with a ship crash landing on Liberty Island and everyone on board is dead. Like that's weird. What's not weird is a man loving another man.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's a long way of answering. Like, basically, I wanted to move the story and the characters and the themes of the Green Lama forward to represent what we are today, because I would like to believe that's what the original creator intended.
Great.
Let me ask, I'm gonna be a little selfish here, because
for it.
you're igniting a lot of things in my head. I myself have always wanted to write fiction, sci-fi, and fantasy since I was in high school. I used to doodle things, kind of stuff back then. And then, went to college, became an engineer. Real life hit me, later on, married, kids. So for those of us who still have the desire or passion or ambition to be writers, not fiction, that is, fiction writers, what would you advise? What would you give someone that's either, in the early 20s or coming out of school, or maybe midlife, not midlife crisis, but midlife career pivot?
Well, firstly, don't leave your day job right away. Legit, unless you don't, because I haven't. I've had a lot of stuff published, but I have not at any point made enough to live off of that.
You're not J.K. Rowling.
So
I'm not J.K. I'm not
not the greatest name to bring up right now, but still, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say this, the thing I tell everyone is write every day. There's so many people. I coincidentally was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, because I especially because of 2020, I was in a funk. I did write a lot more than I thought I was going to last year, but less than I wanted to. I wrote more than I thought I was when I left the year, but significantly less than I thought I was going to when I entered the year, because 2020 is a bitch, and it fucked with all of us. But recently, in the last couple of weeks, my passion for writing's been reinvigorated in a way that I haven't had in a little while. And we were talking about that, and one thing she brought up a lot is a lot of people say they want to be writers, but what they mean is they want to be published writers. They don't really understand that the work you have to put into that is every single day it has to be writing. And don't take that to mean that I think you should sit down and write 100 words or 1,000 words or 20 pages every day. I don't. I sure as shit don't. I feel like I'm a slow writer. I think I take, especially when but when the dam opens, the dam opens. But there's basically, when I started, right, when I realized I really wanted to be a writer, was in college. I was working on a class called it was a spec writing, spec scripts. It's all focused on spec scripts for TV. And I wrote every single Sunday. I didn't write at all during the week, and I wrote every single Sunday, and it was the most enjoyable thing I've ever done in my life. I just sat there working on the script. And what I would do is, in my 20s, after work, back when I was young and I had energy, I would sit up to 2:00 in the morning working my writing. And that would be sometimes, I would say I give myself a big word count goal, a low word count goal, and somewhere in between. So I would sit down all right, I would be great if I write 1,000 words, probably gonna write 500, but it'd be great if I get somewhere in between. I do that every night, and that was sort of my first novel, Unbound, that was written around that time. I was writing a lot of stories that weren't getting published, but I was writing. I was just writing. I wrote a short story called Bad Day at Black Rock. I started working on a story that eventually became my first graphic novel, Sense of Fire. There's a lot of things I was doing, just kind of picking and poking and trying things. Then, I was able to share some of my stuff with my friends. One of my friends showed me, they were like, hey, we need some help with this comic. Can you help us? You're a good writer. So I said, yes. Then I got into a place where I was at at a comic book convention. I met the right person. They're like, hey, we have a list of characters. Who do you want to work on? I said the Green Llama, and that's sort of where I went. And it's one of those things where it is writing every day. What I say writing every day. Okay. I'm working on 3 projects right now. One is my next Green Llama novel, which I've literally been writing for about 5 years, off and on. I've had to restructure it too many times because it doesn't work, dude. Like the Crimson Circle, the one
better.
The Crimson Circle took me 5 years.
It makes me feel really good hearing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, and Crimson Circle took me 5 years. Like behind Chris is a picture of my book, and that one took me 5 years because literally, like, I wrote the Unbound in about 6 months, maybe. Then I was like, oh, I can do this really quickly. Crimson Circle took me off and on because I had a day job, I had work, I had other projects coming in that took my focus. There were a lot of different things that were going on. So with the next Green Llama novel specifically, lots of restructuring. I do not work on it every day. I have a notebook. I write down notes. I put things together. My other project is a pitch for a licensed property that I'm kind of storing through because those characters are in my head a lot more because I consume them a lot. But even then, I haven't worked on it today. Didn't work on it yesterday. Didn't work on it the day before. The other is revisions on the short comic that's coming out later this year. And I had a meeting with my editor on Friday. I did not work on it Saturday. I did not work on it Sunday. I worked on it yesterday. This is a long way of saying, like,
you got to put in
sit
the
down,
work.
put in the work. Like, just put in the work. Like, and let's say like you have a great idea for a novel. Just start putting some stuff down on paper. Just start writing and I have this idea, and like even if it's a document that like is just like scattershot ideas that you're never going to use, but they're down. What's going to happen is, like, even if it's like you might like think about, like, I'm gonna go just put this, like, you're gonna look at it, and this is shit I do to myself. I'll look at my book and I'm like I don't feel in the mindset to write, but let me work on this a little bit today. I'll delete that word. Period. Okay. But I'm thinking about it.
Right.
There's a great anecdote someone told me, and I wish I knew who the actor, the writer was, and I wish I knew what the script was. I wish I knew the whole story. But there's an anecdote I heard about this playwright where this reporter came in and they were like, where's to his wife, like, hey, where is he? Oh, he's out back in the hammock working on Act 2. That's writing. He's sitting there thinking about it and writing. That counts. But like, yeah, you got to put in the work. I have a good friend. She's like, oh, I want to write. I'm like, all right, what have you written? She's like, well, it's so hard. I'm like, yeah, fucking it's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It was the notoriety of being a writer and being successful in publishing, not so much writing something that's in your heart and desire and passion to do because you like it or love it. It's more like, I just want to be able to say I wrote this book. There's a difference. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it feels great to say like I've gotten published. Like, it's really nice. Like, I never thought it was going to happen, and then it did. But it's
great feedback.
Writing's hard, dude. Like, don't like I and again, I just to like hammer this home. It's like, again, so the novel I'm working on right now, I knew instantly when I finished like Crimson Circle, I knew what the story was. In fact, I kind of knew what the story was when I was running Unbound. I knew what the end of this trilogy was going to be. Then I started writing it, and it didn't work at all. Like I literally, so my thing was, so at the end of Crimson Circle, spoilers for a book that's like 5 years old at this point, like there is a major status quo change. Mm-hmm. The Green Llama leaves, there's a new Green Llama, a bunch of characters have died, like the status quo has changed. The idea was the next book was going to start off a year later, 2 years later at some point. And my idea was like, I'm going to skip that year, and I'm just going to start with this new status quo. Let's just go straight in and dive into it. And it didn't work at all. Like was the beginning of my novel is now somewhere towards like maybe towards the 2/3 of the way through. So I've added like I'm at 70,000 words right now. I'm not done. That is, and I'm still working on this novel because it's like it got more and more complicated, and I'm happy with the way it's coming together. But like, I introduced different POV characters. I introduced different timelines to keep track of, because I was like, I need to fill in that year. I need to show that year that happened. But I also don't want to take away from fans who want to see the new Green Llama. Like that's interesting because I want to see that. So how do I do that? So now I have like two different alternating timelines. Like this is from a year ago. This is like the present day. And then there's a third thing I'm doing, which if I try to explain it out loud, doesn't make any sense, but I think it works in the story. I think it does. I don't know. But like, yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Like that's why it's taken me so long. Cause I've actually had to like sit there and like throughout the entire the book, it's tough. And like, that's the thing that like, another thing, just don't be discouraged, because there are some days I stand like, this is fucking genius. I'm going to make all the money. And then like the next minute I'm like, who the fuck thought I could write?
Oh shit.
So like, you know, yeah, I mean, there's only a few books. I'll put it this way. Also, there's only a few things I look back on that I'm like, I'm really proud of. There's a short story I did in this one anthology called Occupied Earth, called Traitor. That's one of my favorite stories I ever wrote. That one can't just pour it out of me. Like they asked me, hey, do you want to do this one story for this story for us? Do you have an idea? I'm like, yes, I do. And I wrote it in like a weekend. And then there was the other one that I'm really proud of, and I don't know how it holds up, but I'm really proud of it. It's the Sherlock Holmes Green Llama crossover. And that was a challenge where someone was like, they said to me, my publisher was like, hey, I want to get more people to read the Green Llama. Can you do a Sherlock Holmes crossover? And I was like, no, that's a terrible idea.
Oh,
it's a terrible idea. What?
Do you have like a mentor or someone you lean to when it comes to like, when you, right before you finish your story, say, hey, take a look at this. What do you think? You do? Yeah, okay.
Several. I can talk about them in a second. But with the Sherlock Holmes one, I write every single Sherlock Holmes note. I figured it out like using something in the canon of both story of characters to make something that sort of actually allowed them to meet, as opposed to like doing like a correspondence through time sort of thing. But yeah, to your question, yeah, there's a few people who have either read my work or I kind of poke two ideas. One, not gonna lie, is my girlfriend. Like she is my harshest critic.
That's the best part.
We got into
how it works. Yeah,
we got into fights about like some of the stuff I've written. Like my favorite thing is like she's like, you're better than this line, and I'm like,
you're better than this. You're right, babe. I am better than this. What was I doing?
So, she's like, you're trying to say this, but that's not what you're saying. And I'm like, yeah. And then I got over myself. Another person, and I've mentioned him almost every chance I get, my co-producer on Radio Room. Radio Room is the audio drama production company that I run with Steele Philippek. Mm-hmm. We're doing a Green Llama audio drama continuation, sort of like the next chapter that takes place after my book. This next book, it actually takes place chronologically later. So I had to keep that all in my head while I'm writing this novel. I'm like, all right, I had to end everything there. Steele Philippek is a great collaborator because he's a professional writer. He does a lot. He's worked on properties that I wish I could have worked on. But here's an interesting thing about our relationship with Steele and I. He and I disagree on a lot of things. We disagree on like films. We disagree on storytelling. We both like Farscape, which is how we met each other because of Facebook back in the day. Like he's like, you like Farscape? I like Farscape. And we bumped into each other at a Comic-Con years after college. But he had a chin strap beard and a ponytail. And it's like, there's only so many people who can pull that off. It's like Steele, and he's like Adam. And like, we became friends. Long story short, became friends. We became collaborators, but we disagree on everything. And what we do, like I send him a script. So we have two series and we sort of trade off sometimes on the two series that we do. I'll send him a script and he'll say to me, this doesn't work. And I'm like, well, fuck you, sir. I'm going to prove you wrong. And the thing is, challenge accepted. Like, but like the thing is, like, if I can't prove him wrong, he's right. That's it.
Right.
You know, like there's I remember him telling me like how he told me how I saved one of his scripts. And I'm like, I saved one of your scripts? You've saved so many of mine, because I have someone who sits there and says like we bounce ideas off each other. Like, this doesn't work. I put together a pitch for another publisher, and I'm like, how do I fix this story? And he pushed me to fix it and change it. And it's a better story because of it. There's also some other authors that I know, like Kevin Scott. He's never really, he has my Green Llama books. I don't know how much of it, my stuff that he's read. He's never read anything before I published it. But I met him at San Diego Comic-Con a few years back, and he before he started writing Star Wars: The High Republic, he was working on a lot of Big Finish and a lot of comic books. So Big Finish is an audio drama company that produces Doctor Who audio dramas, and they're great. But he worked on that for a while, and I saw him at a bar, and I'm like, "Hey, you're Kevin Scott," because like I followed him on Twitter because he wrote Doctor Who stuff. Right. And he's like, "Yes, I am." And I asked him, how did he get to write for Big Finish? He understood what the question I was asking. He gave me his card, and he is so supportive and such a cheerleader that it's like, I can tell him like, "Hey, this thing just happened. Isn't this exciting?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, that's great." Like, just a little thing. So yeah, I do have mentors. I do have people that I reach out to. There's also like I will say, there's always you have to be careful about that, like how much you want to give and how much they can give, because look, I would love it if I could give, for example, Kevin all of my writing, but sometimes you can't read it. Like, he's like, right. I can't read this because of reasons, right. Because of like, so it's, I have a lot of people who mentor me. My Tommy Hancock, one of my editors at a couple of publishers, has also been a really big supporter of me. And someone I can always bounce ideas off of. So yeah, yes, the answer, that's a long way of saying yes.
That is great. That's great, because that's, going back to the original question, is what advice you would give. To my mind, I'm also thinking mentorship, also for someone who's a novice, being able to lean to someone with experience to kind of guide you a little bit, and then
Mm-hmm. And I'd also say like read a shit ton. Like, whatever you want to write, read as much as you can in that genre or in that style, to understand what works and what doesn't. Because while there is some merit to reading books about how to write and about writing, I think what I've found is, watch the stuff you like, break it down, figure out why you like it, what works about it, and that will help guide you. And then stop reading it for a little while and like read a romance novel or some shit, because like, and I'm not, I know that's
your palate. Yeah, clean your palate.
And also because like there's so many things that like when I'm writing, like when you're writing something, a specific kind of genre, let's say you're writing a science fiction story. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that if you're like sort of buried deep into it, that you'll get into the tropes, you'll get into the certain sort of thing that you'll just get stuck in tropes basically. But if you read, let's say, like a mystery story, suddenly like you'll start thinking of shit like you never thought of, because they did something in this story that they would never do in a science fiction story, or would never do in a fantasy stuff. Like, wait a minute, what if I take that idea in this mystery story, on this romance novel, or in this nonfiction, whatever it is that you're reading, and I put it in this? That always helps.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So as always, we're quick on our feet here at the Heroes Peak. So we're going to skip the review portion at the end. We've had a much better, longer discussion with Adam.
Review what? Forget about that. Come on.
No, we're going to keep. I have a couple more questions I have, but
please,
just a couple of fun questions I want to toss.
You'll be getting an email from HR later tonight. So
yeah, I'll deal with that later.
So, what is your dream character to write? Like, if you could walk into, is it a movie character, is it a comic book character, is it moving to like, I want to make a radio drama for, I don't know,
I have so many answers. Look out, radioactive man.
The goggles, they do nothing.
Lad or something, right? But yeah, so what's your dream character and what kind of project?
Yeah, there's a couple. I desperately want to write a Doctor Who audio drama. Desperately, like I love them so much. Like Doctor Who as a franchise is so full of hope and kindness that it saved me from in 2020. And I don't mean that, like, it really got me through it. So I want to sort of push that forward and give that to someone else. Also, I love the character. I love the audio dramas. I love Big Finish in general. I've already mentioned them. They're just great. Mm-hmm. I really want to write a Captain Marvel / Shazam story. That's because I think there's something really wonderful about a child being a superhero. There's that easily could be seen as naivete, but it could also be something more along the lines of just again, it's hope and kindness. I like that. I like that shit. I also really want to write a Star Wars novel. Like if you would like, the reason I became a writer is because I read I own most and read many of the EU growing up.
There we go. I thought
that's a James thing.
Yeah. Like, no, and that's the thing. Like, and here's the thing. Like, I can love the EU and new canon at the same time. That's like, I love both because it's Star Wars. But like, I love exactly. I like my dream is to write a Star Wars novel. That's the reason I became a writer. Like, if the last thing I ever do in this world is write a Star Wars novel, and people like it, that would be lovely. That would be great.
Amen to that.
Yeah, because I started with the glove of Darth Vader, and I might as well keep on going. God, what a weird book series that was. Heir to the Empire obviously was important. What else do I want to write?
Zahn, Troy Denning.
Yeah. I got to interview Zahn.
You did.
Wow. I did. That was like a dream come true. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Fanboying right now.
So many.
I'm gonna. This is a question that tore this podcast apart, and I really don't want to get you in trouble with it, but I'm gonna ask anyway.
Have you seen my Twitter feed? I'm in trouble every day.
Right. Who's the better actor, Keanu Reeves or Chris Hemsworth?
Bringing this back again?
Oh man!
Oh wow, that's an interesting question. Who's a better actor? They're very different styles.
I know, very. It's a tough call.
Very, very different. I think that here's the thing: both of them have more range than you expect, but both of them have also at times fallen on sort of a specific style. I think that the humor that Hemsworth discovered with Thor, when he kind of went off and did the comedies and brought into Thor Ragnarok,
Ghostbusters.
And Ghostbusters and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that has played to the strengths of Thor and has helped the MCU. I think has made his character a lot more interesting, but he does sort of lean in on that a bit now from what the stuff I've seen. Keanu Reeves. One of my hashtag very good friend, Patrick Willems, has a really good video series, podcast called Can't Get Enough of Keanu. And they go through the entire filmography of Keanu Reeves. And that was very elucidating because you realize like all the stuff he does, like there's stuff that he's very good at and stuff that he's not so good at. And I think who's a better actor? Wow, that is a really tough question. I would say I was gonna say that I would almost say Keanu is because I think Keanu.
Over.
Oh no!
So
put the explosion in the edit for this one.
And I was gonna say, but and this is gonna sound the reason why is because you look at his career. Like he's done more in his career and he's tried more in his career than Hemsworth has. Hemsworth, for all his skills and his talent, his comic timing is amazing. He is a dream to look at. Like, he's a really fun actor, but he either does really serious glowering or action movies, or he does charming, maybe fun action, like action movies. Like I haven't seen the one he did with the movie he did with Ron Howard, but that felt like probably like the exception that almost proves the rule.
See, my one argument here for this was that was the first Thor. I love the first Thor movie. I think it's a great Shakespearean fish out of water combination movie. But his little spot in Endgame where he's talking with his mother and he's feeling down and like the whole fat Thor thing, I think is a great showing of range that we don't get to see from him normally. But
I countered you on if
right,
you look
I'll
at
take
Keanu's
the L.
rom-coms.
I'll take the L.
You look at the rom-coms that Keanu has done.
Yeah,
where he steps out the everyday man type of. Chris hasn't done that yet. He's not. Eventually, he may be.
I had a.
He's not there yet.
I guess I'm not.
I'm sorry. I don't mean.
I don't back anytime. Anytime.
No, that's the thing. I can't. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a straight drama that Chris has done. Like it's all been action or
not that I've
comedy,
seen.
right?
I think unless you go back to like him acting in local like television in Australia or something like that.
but I mean like feature film, like Keanu's got a whole list of just straight drama too, right? So
yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does.
So I think Chris, he needs to catch up on that, and then I think we can do a better comparison.
There you go.
Yeah. Like I mean, look, he's probably making a lot of money. He's doing really well for himself.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah,
he's not hurting.
Right.
He's not worried about what we think about him.
Yeah, he was he was good in Bad Times at El Royale. That was an interesting.
I have
movie.
Not seen that.
I haven't seen that either. Yeah.
That one's weird. It's sort of like I would not say it's great, but I enjoyed it more than my friends who I saw it with. It's sort of like all these different kinds of like noir tropes all sort of converging in one movie. Yeah, it's interesting. It's he was creepy in that one. That was so he's getting there, but I just don't think his body of work is as diverse or as interesting as Keanu's is right now.
All right.
Yeah, I think Liam actually has more dramas under his belt than Chris does.
Yeah. And also like think about like you have like John Wick and Ted
Theodore
Logan, right? Like that's the same guy. But I would, if you had told me like they're played by different actors, I would have believed you. It's like, I'm guessing I'm back. Also, I could do a pretty decent Keanu Reeves impression. This is neither here nor there, and I'm sorry I'm keeping you guys. But my favorite story, my favorite Keanu Reeves story is this. It has nothing to do with Keanu Reeves, but it's great. So there was this in New York. There was something called Point Break Live, right? And it was basically they reenacted the movie Point Break live on stage.
That's interesting.
But so what they did was this is back when like Keanu was sort of a joke. They had a random audience member taken from there, and they had to like read cue cards, and like I got to do my Keanu Reeves impression, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good." But then they had a Japanese reporter. I was up against a Japanese reporter who didn't speak English. So who did they choose? They chose the Japanese reporter who didn't speak English. And I gotta say, as much as I would have loved that experience, they made the right choice because that was hilarious.
Pretty good with the impression, by the way.
Thank you.
I'll give you props for that.
Yeah.
All right. So I want you to last thing, Adam, just tell everybody where they can get your stuff.
Get my stuff.
Where can they buy all your stuff? Make you rich?
Yeah, please make. I want to buy a house one day.
Don't. It's not worth the money.
It's not worth the money.
You're gonna have to move to Buffalo to do that.
You're gonna have to move to Buffalo.
Well, screw that.
Nobody wants to live in
Never
Buffalo.
mind. Where you can buy my stuff? Check out Amazon. Type in Adam Lance Garcia. You'll see all my work kind of come up. There's a lot of cool things on there. The Green Lama series, if you're looking for a place to start, there's Green Lama Scions is a good place to start, or Sherlock Holmes Green Lama, or Green Lama Unbound. Those are all three strong places to start. Or Green Lama Horror and Clay, that's also a good one by itself. You can pick up my graphic novel Sons of Fire. That's a self-published work. Hoping that it gets picked up by someone. But
I recommend that to my 12-year-old son.
There's a lot of F-bombs. It's more adult.
You don't know my son, but thanks for,
yeah.
thanks for
Well, I mean,
honesty. Thanks for honesty.
No worries. I'd rather a parent look at it first before they give it to their child, because there is like some it's dark. It's a darker story, and I do drop a couple of F-bombs in there and S-bombs. There's also check out Radio Room. We have our first season of Queens of the Sapphire Sea. That's on any podcast aggregator. Just type in Radio Room. You'll see like the 2 RR symbols. You'll listen to the first season of Queens of the Sapphire Sea, which is by Steele, and I have a couple of episodes in that. You can also follow me on Twitter at Adam Lance Garcia, and I think on Instagram at Adam Lance Garcia, and I think TikTok as well, though I'm an old. And
I still haven't gotten.
Listen,
TikTok.
we have a TikTok account, and I don't know who's managing that. It's supposed to be my daughter, but
I was gonna say we've got a teenagers doing it, but I can't.
It's so weird. It's a fascinating place to visit, but I was like really quickly realized like I am.
Yeah, you need to be careful there. You get lost.
Yeah,
in there really
I
quick.
have a 15-year-old daughter who basically lives on it, and it's just like I feel so old. Like I thought I was like I'm Twitter. I got all. And then she's like TikTok. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
No idea.
No, I definitely was like, I had that same experience, not with a 15-year-old daughter, because I have cats. But no, I was like, I'm gonna do TikTok, and I get it. I'm hip on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. I don't know what to do, and I worked like an hour or so on like a couple of videos, and like 2 people liked them, and I'm like, yep, all right, message received, children.
Those people work like 24 hours a day to get those 30-second videos up there.
Totally.
It's so much work.
But yeah, basically just Adam Lance Garcia. Anything. Don't do Adam Garcia by itself, because then you'll get Adam Garcia, the actor who is best seen in Coyote Ugly and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and that one episode of Doctor Who. But everyone thinks we're the same person because we're white guys with brown hair.
Oh, well. That's going to be it for us for tonight. I want to thank you very much, Adam, for joining us. It was great to have this conversation. It was fascinating. We love listening to everything you had to say, and we will invite you anytime you feel like it. You are now a friend of the entire podcast.
Yeah, come back for our next Star Wars review. For the next film or something.
I need backup on our next Star Wars review.
This is where Adam and I split, huh? He's gonna tell me last.
Well, we'll probably split, but I understand. I'll disagree, but I'll understand.
All right. So, Mike, where can everybody find us on the social webs?
We are also on TikTok, if you can find us. But, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at HeroSpeak. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, like and share if you like our videos. And don't forget to subscribe.
5 stars. 5 stars.
iTunes and Spotify.
That's right. Everywhere.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, all the podcasts.
So. All right. Well, that's it for us. Thank you, everybody. You have a fine night. We'll see you later.
May the force be with you.